Would you believe it? The decline in tourism in Vegas could be a blessing for the homeless, because empty casinos after a summer collapse are gradually being transformed into America's most luxurious shelters. Where neon lights, the clatter of slot machines, and lavish parties once filled the air for international tourists, it is now a shelter for people with nowhere else to go. Las Vegas is renowned for being a master of illusion, a city that makes millions of visitors believe they are living the American dream. But when the glamorous facade fell away, what was revealed was a paradox few could accept. Spaces that once generated thousands of dollars in a single night became places where vulnerable individuals found their first bed after long periods of homelessness. In today's video, we'll explore the unseen underbelly of Vegas, from the entertainment capital of the world to a haven for the homeless. This story might make you see the City of Lights through a completely different lens. Perhaps it's not difficult to know the bitter consequences of a city choosing to distort the very soul that made it famous just to chase short-term profits. However, what haunts people more than just the numbers is not only the silent emptiness in a city that once nurtured the dreams of millions of Americans. The rows of slot machines still shone with their usual dazzling light, but no one was standing in front of them waiting for luck. The familiar sound of dice, the shouts of winning bets, the clinking of glasses in the late night, all seemed to have vanished, swallowed up in the cold, empty void of deserted casinos. Ironically, the bright neon lights on the signs only served to highlight the emptiness, like a grand stage without any actors. Perhaps no one could have predicted that the absence of a seemingly small group of tourists, Canadians, Europeans, winter snowbirds, would create such a serious domino effect. From Fremont to the Strip, from luxury hotels to convention centers, the city of entertainment paradise is gradually transforming into a land of despair. According to Professor Stephen Miller, the number of tourists has plummeted to just 12%, lower than the darkest period of 2009. Entering the airport, one feels as if they are walking through a deserted land. Even Harry Reid International Airport reported a consecutive 4-month decline in passenger volume. Meanwhile, hotels, which are heavily reliant on high-spending groups like conference attendees and foreign guests, have also unanimously acknowledged that revenue figures are plummeting in disappointment. A New Zealand tourist who spent half his life in Vegas shared, "We used to really enjoy the atmosphere in the casinos in Vegas. We even planned to go back in 2026, but prices had skyrocketed since our last trip, so we decided to look elsewhere." With round-trip airfare to New Zealand and a 12-day tour around Japan, the cost is still much cheaper than a 3-day vacation in the United States. Sadly, we're unlikely to return to Las Vegas, but at least we're grateful for having experienced it when it was still affordable. Those words of sharing were like a final farewell. Thank you, Vegas, for the memories. We will never come here again. Perhaps the signs were there early on, when Ocean One Bar and Grill, once considered a symbol of a Vegas for everyone with its $4.99 lunch, had to close in 2024. Since then, the distance from ordinary tourists has become increasingly apparent. Unreasonable surcharges, from window fees and Wi-Fi charges to COVID recovery fees, quietly appear on bills, like unwanted gifts that no one wants to receive. It's all like an accusation that a trip to Vegas is now no different from a wallet bet, and the big losers are always the tourists. And then, the social impact became immediately apparent. Around the once brightly lit, glamorous casinos, makeshift tents have now appeared. Many people who used to work in hotels and casinos now have to sleep on the streets, right next to where they once served tourists. The street that once warmly welcomed people now instills a sense of unease in their hearts. Local businesses are starting to worry, especially as the large older middle-class customer base, the lifeblood of Vegas for decades, is gradually disappearing. The economic consequences are therefore clear. Revenue from gaming wins is plummeting, hotel casino profits are declining, there are fewer guests, stays are shorter, and spending is cautious. Even industry managers have to admit Vegas hasn't collapsed. But clearly, cracks have appeared in the trust of visitors and residents that cannot be filled. Perhaps the city hasn't realized yet that people leave, not because they lost everything at the gambling table, but because they no longer feel welcome, at least not in this city. Why has a city that once welcomed all become a place only for the wealthy and cold tents? Was the American dream always just a privilege that could be bought with money? And if even Las Vegas, a symbol of opulence, is abandoning the very people who once nurtured it, what does that say about America today? A land of opportunity, or a giant casino where ordinary people are always the losers? Vegas was once called the immortal paradise of the American tourism industry, a place where anyone could find their own dream. From an ordinary teacher in Kansas to a successful entrepreneur in Los Angeles, they all believe that just by setting foot here, Vegas will give them a chance to win big and a little magic to remember for a lifetime. But by 2025, that illusion had vanished. For many, Vegas is no longer a land of faith and memories, but rather a betrayal. However, paradoxically, that very collapse turned into a miracle for over 7,900 homeless people living in Clark County. On the Strip, under the 115-degree Fahrenheit heat, rows of makeshift tents made of plastic tarps, wooden pallets, and scraps of fabric stretch right up to the entrances of hotels, restaurants, and casinos. Tourists are gradually disappearing, and instead, the homeless themselves have become part of the urban landscape. A presence that no one can ignore. In 2025, the Southern Nevada Homeless Continuum of Care System recorded up to 7,906 homeless individuals in this area alone. Encampments are springing up right next to convention centers and luxury hotels, which were once the gateway to Vegas. What shocked many people even more was that the presence of the homeless is no longer limited to the streets outside. They have infiltrated every nook and cranny of Vegas, even entering empty casinos, which were once considered forbidden territory for them. How ironic that casinos, which once shone 24/7 and spent millions of dollars each night, have now become unwilling five-star shelters for people without homes. The old red carpet is now where blankets are spread, luxurious velvet chairs have become beds, and the conference room that once welcomed the upper class now only echoes with the sighs of lost souls. That image was both satirical and poignant. The Vegas dream had faded, but within that decline, it offered a distorted kind of luxury, a makeshift haven for those left behind by society. A long-time visitor recounted a haunting experience. I went to a local casino to play and saw a homeless man enter from the back door carrying a bird cage. He sat in front of the slot machines all afternoon, not playing, not betting, just to sit in the air conditioning and escape the outdoor heat. That image exposed a bitter truth. For many, casinos are no longer places to try their luck, but simply places to find a bit of coolness from the air conditioning, a little light, and sometimes the feeling of living like a normal person. But as this became widespread, hotels were forced to tighten security, turning places that were once open to all into stuffy, uneasy environments. And it's not just about squeezing into the glamorous space. Another underground world is also existing in parallel beneath Vegas. Right below Caesar's Palace, in the drainage tunnels under the Strip, there are about 1,200 to 1,500 people living. They chose the darkness as their refuge, shunning the light, shunning the world above. Some people have lived here for up to 13 years. In the damp darkness, they avoided the desert heat, the discriminatory gazes, and clung to a fragile glimmer of hope. A woman in her 50s, who used to be a hotel housekeeper, shared that, at least in the basement, no one chased her away, and she even felt a sense of belonging to the community. This contrast is both cruel and tragic. Above, Vegas still shines brightly, promoting itself as the city that never sleeps. But that light wasn't enough to warm the people left behind. When one of America's wealthiest cities cannot protect its vulnerable residents, the agonizing question arises. If even Las Vegas no longer offers refuge, does America, with all the glamour of the dream, have any place left for them to find a home? Seen from above, Las Vegas still shines brightly like a diamond in the Nevada desert. The neon lights still cast magical colors into the sky, as if the city had never changed. But as I got closer, every street and every bill revealed a different truth. Vegas had become too expensive to still be called a livable city or a paradise of entertainment for everyone. For decades, Vegas was a destination that even an average working-class family could afford. Cheap buffets, affordable rooms, and the feeling of living large for a few days have nurtured the memories of millions of Americans. But the reality in 2025 is completely different. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the basic cost of living for a single person in Nevada alone hovers near $3,000 per month, while for a family of four, this figure exceeds $5,400 per month. Those expenses don't include rent, which has become a suffocating burden for both residents and tourists. The average rental price in Las Vegas is currently approximately $6,000 per month, while the price of buying a home has exceeded $540,000. Instead of being small, everyday expenses, necessities have now become a problem that makes many families carefully consider every penny. A gallon of milk costs nearly $5, a loaf of bread over $4, a dozen eggs over $9. Seemingly small numbers that add up to an insurmountable wall of expenses. For many retirees or those living on a fixed income, even a simple breakfast can feel like a luxury. This not only affects residents, but also directly impacts the tourism industry, the soul of Vegas. A week's stay here can now cost an average of $500 per person, which is nearly equal to the monthly income of many unskilled workers in the US. Those who once considered Vegas a familiar playground now have to weigh their options. Should they spend that money trying their luck at the casino or use it to pay rent, utilities, and medicine? For international visitors, Vegas is no longer an exceptional value option, but simply an unaffordable luxury. The psychological impact is even more pronounced in the elderly. Many couples had planned to move to Vegas after retirement, hoping to enjoy the dry climate and vibrant lifestyle. But escalating costs forced them to retreat, choose smaller cities, or even move abroad. Hitting the jackpot for them is no longer a casino jackpot, but simply having enough money to pay the rent each month without relying on their children. This change also led to a new trend. Many people were forced to live minimally to protect their finances and mental well-being. Independent channels, social organizations, and even some major brands have begun to encourage financial monitoring tools, helping people manage their spending and receive alerts when unusual activity occurs. For example, the unsafe platform has become a trusted choice for seniors who want a silent shield against rising prices. Las Vegas, once promising a luxurious dream for all classes, has now become a symbol of distance and inequality. And if even Vegas, a city born to be for everyone, no longer has room for the average person, then where else in America can truly keep that promise? From afar, Las Vegas still shines with the "Welcome to Fabulous Las Vegas" sign, an iconic greeting that has become part of American history. But upon stepping inside, one realizes that this greeting is no longer meant for everyone today. In reality, the city is now only opening its arms to a small group of customers, the ultra-wealthy who are willing to spend thousands of dollars for a night of fun. Behind the bright lights is a distorted promise, and for many middle-class Americans or local workers, the most palpable feeling is that they have been left out of the game. Vegas's promotional image in the 1980s promised a city for everyone, a place where an ordinary family can find joy through an inexpensive buffet, a modest room, or just a few coins in the slot machines. However, the contrast is now evident. From hotels and restaurants to entertainment services, everything seems to cater only to a single class. The so-called city for everyone has become a city for the few. The reason stems from a shift in business strategy. The budget services that once defined the soul of Vegas are being gradually eliminated, replaced by luxury packages that cost many times more. Tourists who once came here to live large for a few days with their savings now have no place to stay. This not only affects tourists but also touches the hearts of the local people. A 55-year-old man who used to be a bartender at a hotel along the Strip shared that he felt the city had betrayed the workers who made it shine. That change had an even greater consequence: a loss of trust. A study by UNLV's Center for Business and Economic Research shows that over 40% of Las Vegas residents surveyed in 2024 believe the cost of living and tourism in the city has become unmanageable, and that Vegas is no longer a place for everyone as it once was. These aren't just numbers. They represent a breakdown of trust, an invaluable asset for a city whose reputation is built on memories and experiences. In that context, several solutions have been proposed to bring Vegas closer to the community. Major brands in the service and financial management industries, such as AARP, have begun to promote more sustainable travel models aimed at the elderly and middle class, a demographic that was once the cornerstone of Vegas. Not only do they offer promotional packages, but they also provide financial support programs and encourage smart spending management so that visitors can still find joy without being burdened by heavy costs. When a city once branded with the promise that everyone is welcome is now only open to a select few, how many parallel worlds truly exist within the heart of Vegas? And how long can they coexist before trust completely collapses? From a street corner overlooking the Strip, the scene looks like it stepped out of a two-world movie. On one side, limousines slowly glided past the dazzling lights, carrying guests in tailored suits and sparkling evening gowns. Just a few blocks away, makeshift tents made of plastic, tarps, and scraps of wood are crammed together, where people eke out a living on charitable meals and free bottles of water. The two Vegas exist on the same street, reflecting the lights of the Strip, but never touching. This reality exposes an unprecedented wealth gap in the city's history. While revenue from luxury shows and high-end resorts continues to rise, just a few hundred meters away, lives are piling up at the bottom. According to data from the US Census Bureau in 2024, the poverty rate in Las Vegas is over 14%, higher than the national average, and the income gap is widening. One might say this is just an economic trend, but the reality shows it has disrupted the social fabric of a city that was built on the spirit of open to all. The root cause stems from a shifting economic model, focusing on luxury, dedicating all resources to serving a group of high-spending customers, while simultaneously eliminating the budget-friendly options that once defined the soul of Vegas. This strategy yields immediate profits, but simultaneously displaces a large number of middle-class residents and guests. When benefits flow only to one side of the scale, the consequence is social imbalance, of which today's Vegas is the clearest demonstration. This issue is not just a problem for Las Vegas alone. It's a microcosm of the injustices spreading across America, a country where major cities have become havens for the wealthy, while working people struggle to pay rent and buy necessities. When Vegas, once known as the entertainment capital of all, falls into disarray, it paints a bleak picture for other cities if they follow the same path. In this context, several solutions are being discussed to bridge the gap. Large organizations and brands like United Way have ramped up community support programs, invested in social services, and called on cities to reallocate resources to ensure no one is left behind. While these efforts haven't completely changed the landscape, they remind us that social justice is not just a slogan, but a vital condition for long-term development. If a city built to welcome all, like Las Vegas, can also split itself into two worlds, can other American cities be safer, or is this just the beginning of a deeper division? Few would have guessed that the decline of a city once known as the entertainment capital of the world could create shockwaves felt across the entire country. But when Las Vegas fell into crisis, it wasn't just Nevada's story. According to data from the Nevada Department of Tourism and Cultural Affairs, statewide tourism revenue decreased by nearly 30% in just 2 years. That number not only reflects the decline of an industry, but also signals cascading effects on many other economic sectors. The domino effect starts from the sky. With tourists absent, passenger numbers on airlines have plummeted, leading to flight cuts and even the complete closure of some routes that were once bustling between Las Vegas and major cities. Airports in the surrounding region that benefited from connecting traffic also had to endure a lack of passengers. The retail and food service industries were next caught in the whirlwind. Shops that were once bustling with tourists now constantly displayed sale signs, and many small businesses couldn't survive, forcing them to close. Real estate is also not immune to this cycle. When the flow of tourism money stops, the demand for hotel rooms, short-term apartments, or townhome projects serving out-of-state visitors plummets. Commercial real estate values have declined, many shopping centres are vacant, and stores that were once the highlights of the street are now displaying cold for lease signs. Behind that was a series of layoffs, from hotel receptionists to salespeople, all of whom were pushed out onto the streets in a difficult-to-escape spiral. The consequences don't stop within the borders of Nevada. When an icon like Vegas falters, other tourism-dependent cities across the US also begin to feel the pressure. From Florida to California, travel businesses, hotel chains, and restaurants are all watching closely, as a downturn in Vegas could be a warning sign of a systemic decline. The federal government has launched support packages to revive the tourism industry, but many experts believe these measures are only enough to prevent a complete collapse rather than restore confidence or generate sustainable growth. In this context, many education and social experts believe the solution lies in rebuilding communities based on sustainability and adaptability skills. Large organizations and brands like Khan Academy have begun implementing free online education programs, helping unemployed workers learn new skills and find opportunities in industries less reliant on tourism. Although this isn't an immediate cure, it at least opens a door of hope in the dark picture. If a city that once stood strong on lights and illusions can fall, then who will be the next victim in the giant domino game called America? Las Vegas was once a mirror reflecting the American dream, a place that promised that with just a few coins in your pocket, you could live large for a few days. But today, that light shines on cold emptiness, makeshift tents, and even empty casinos that have become shelters for those left behind. When an icon falters, the whole country feels the tremor. If even Las Vegas, a city that once thrived on the faith and optimism of millions, can collapse, what does that portend for the future of America? Please leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to continue exploring with us the stories that are shaping a different America than what we once knew. The content in this video is for informational and analytical purposes only and does not make any absolute claims. Some data is cited from public sources, while other figures are presented as overviews or for illustrative purposes and may change over time. The video does not represent the views of any organization, individual, or government. Viewers should consult additional sources to gain a more comprehensive understanding.